Okay, get ready because today we are going to deep dive into something pretty amazing.
Okay.
A program designed to empower young girls
Oh, wow.
ages 11 to 18
Okay.
to become like the next generation of innovators and like creative powerhouses. It's called Potency.world.
I love that.
And based on the research that you sent over, it's
Yeah.
really kind of shaking things up in a big way.
It really is. And you know what strikes me the most is their radical departure from that traditional education model.
Yeah.
Potency.world is built on the idea that to truly unlock potential, we need to shift away from, extrinsic motivators like grades and tests,
Right.
and instead tap into something much more powerful,
Yeah.
a young person's intrinsic drive.
That's right. It's all about fostering that like internal fire, that genuine excitement for learning and creating.
Totally.
And they're specifically targeting girls in STEM and the arts,
Yeah,
two fields where sadly we still see a pretty significant gender gap.
that's right. And it's not just about filling quotas or checking boxes either.
Right.
Potency.world recognizes that immense untapped potential that exists when we empower girls to excel in these areas.
Yeah.
Imagine the ripple effect
Huge.
of having more women shaping technology, leading scientific breakthroughs, and influencing like the artistic landscape.
Right.
The possibilities, I think, are limitless.
Okay. So they've got this big vision.
Yeah.
But what's the actual structure of the program?
Okay.
How do they actually go about nurturing this intrinsic motivation?
Well, this is where things get really interesting. They've implemented something they call the 80-20 split.
80-20, what does that mean?
It means that 80% of their program is dedicated to pure exploration and discovery,
Wow.
allowing these young women to dive headfirst into whatever sparks their passion,
Oh.
whether it's coding, robotics, painting, or
Yeah.
composing music.
Wow, 80% focus solely on pursuing individual interests.
I know.
That's a stark contrast to the rigid curriculum-heavy structure that most of us are familiar with. I mean, how much freedom did we really have to explore our own passions back in school?
Very little, I'd say. And that's precisely the point Potency.world is making.
Yeah,
By giving girls this level of autonomy,
right.
they're essentially saying, we trust you to lead your own learning journey. We believe in your ability to discover what truly excites you.
Yeah.
And this belief in their capabilities is incredibly empowering.
So if 80% is about exploration, what about the remaining 20%? Where
Yeah.
does that fit in?
That 20% is dedicated entirely to well-being.
Okay.
Think mindfulness practices,
Yeah.
emotional intelligence training,
Yeah.
and cultivating a strong sense of self.
Oh, wow.
It's about recognizing that to thrive in any field, you need a solid foundation of mental and emotional well-being.
That makes total sense. You can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Exactly.
It's interesting to compare this to traditional education systems, which, according to our sources, allocate a mere 3% to well-being.
Wow.
It makes you wonder why we've neglected this crucial aspect for so long.
It really does,
Yeah.
especially when you consider the research highlighting the detrimental effects of stress and anxiety
Yeah.
on learning and cognitive function.
Right.
And it's not just about academic performance.
Right.
Equipping young people with the tools to manage their well-being
Yeah.
is an investment in their overall life success and happiness.
Absolutely. I'm starting to see how this 80-20 split is a key part of nurturing intrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
It's about creating an environment where girls feel safe to explore,
Totally.
to experiment, and to discover their passions
Yes.
without the constant pressure of external validation.
Precisely. And this ties in beautifully with another core principle of Potency.world, fostering a sense of agency.
Ah, yes, agency. That feeling of having control and ownership over your choices and actions. It seems to be a bit of a buzzword these days.
Yeah.
But Potency.world appears to be going beyond just talking about it.
I
They're
mean-
actually weaving it into the fabric of their program.
Exactly. It's not just about having choices. It's about understanding the impact of those choices
Right.
and having the confidence to make decisions that align with one's values and aspirations.
So how does this play out in practice?
Yep.
How do they actually empower these young women to take ownership of their learning?
Well, one way is by shifting away from the traditional model of passive learning,
Right.
where students are essentially told what to learn and how to think.
Yeah.
Instead, they encourage girls to engage in what's called divergent thinking,
Okay.
which is all about brainstorming, exploring multiple perspectives, and generating creative solutions.
This sounds like the opposite of convergent thinking.
Yes.
Which I remember from our research was described as that laser-focused,
Yeah.
one right answer approach that often dominates traditional classrooms.
Yeah.
And it can lead to some pretty negative brain chemistry when we feel stuck or pressured to conform.
That's right. By fostering divergent thinking, they're creating a space where there's no one right answer, where curiosity and exploration are celebrated, and where making mistakes is seen as a valuable part of the learning process.
So it's about creating a culture where girls feel safe to take risks, to experiment, and to think outside the box.
Yes.
I'm already starting to see how this approach could be incredibly empowering.
It is, and they take it a step further by incorporating real-world problem solving into the learning process.
Okay, tell me more about this. I'm really intrigued by how they're connecting classroom learning to real-world challenges.
Well, instead of just focusing on abstract concepts or theoretical exercises,
Yeah.
they encourage girls to tackle issues they genuinely care about, issues that resonate with their values and passions.
So it's about giving their learning a sense of purpose,
Yes.
a connection to something bigger than themselves.
Right.
I imagine that's a powerful motivator.
It transforms learning from a passive activity
Yeah.
into an active pursuit, driven by a desire to make a real difference in the world.
I'm already starting to get a sense of how all these pieces fit together.
Yeah.
The focus on intrinsic motivation, the 80-20 split, fostering agency, and encouraging real-world problem solving.
Totally.
It seems like they're creating a holistic ecosystem that nurtures not just academic skills,
Right.
but also essential life skills like resilience, adaptability, and creative problem solving.
You hit the nail on the head. And to truly understand the impact of this approach,
Okay.
we need to dive into the 5 key skills they emphasize through their experiential learning model.
5 key skills.
Yes.
Okay, I'm all ears. Let's unpack this further. What are these skills and how do they fit into the bigger picture of potency.org?
Okay, so these 5 skills are like the pillars of their experiential learning model.
Okay.
Creativity, collaboration, flexibility, innovation, and a growth mindset. And you know, it's fascinating
Yeah.
how these very skills are echoed in our research
Uh-huh.
as those most lacking in the workforce today.
Oh, really?
Businesses are losing billions of dollars
Wow.
because employees aren't creative or collaborative enough.
Right. Okay, hold on. Billions of dollars lost because employees aren't creative or collaborative enough.
Yeah,
That's a pretty powerful argument for why Potency.World's approach is so important.
right.
But how do they actually teach these skills?
Yeah.
It can't be just textbook stuff, right?
Absolutely not. Remember, this is all about experiential learning.
Yeah.
Learning by doing.
Right.
They create immersive experiences where girls can apply these skills in real-world contexts. For example, imagine a team challenged to design a sustainable solution for a local environmental problem.
So through tackling this challenge, they're naturally flexing their creativity muscles, learning to collaborate effectively,
Right.
and developing that all-important growth mindset where they see setbacks as opportunities for learning and improvement.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And because the problem is rooted in the real world, it has a tangible impact,
Yeah.
making their learning feel much more relevant and purposeful.
It's amazing how they've managed to create this ecosystem where learning isn't just about acquiring knowledge,
Right.
but about developing essential life skills and applying them to make a real difference.
Yes.
Okay, so we've covered intrinsic motivation agency, real-world problem solving, and these 5 key skills.
Right.
Anything else we should be highlighting?
There's one more element we should discuss, one that I find particularly intriguing.
Okay.
Their emphasis on andragogy.
Andragogy, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Refresh my memory. What is that exactly?
It's essentially the art and science of adult learning.
Okay.
And you might be wondering, why apply this to a program designed for teenagers?
Exactly. These girls aren't exactly adults yet.
Right.
So what's the thinking behind incorporating adult learning principles?
It's about recognizing that even young learners thrive when they're treated as active participants in their own learning journey. Andragogy emphasizes self-direction relevance to real life
Yeah.
and drawing on the learner's experiences,
Right.
all of which align perfectly with Potency.World's philosophy.
So it's like they're saying, hey, if these principles work so well for adult learners,
Yeah.
why wouldn't they be effective for younger students as well?
Precisely think about it in a traditional classroom.
Okay.
The teacher is often seen as the holder of knowledge,
Right.
dispensing information to passive students.
Right.
But in an andragogical model, the facilitator acts more as a guide, a mentor who helps learners connect the dots between their existing knowledge
Right.
and the new information they're encountering.
So it's less about dictating what to learn and more about empowering these young women to discover their own paths.
Absolutely.
And this ties back to the idea of agency, right? Giving them the reins, trusting them to navigate their own learning journey.
Exactly. And it also emphasizes the importance of creating a learning environment
Yeah.
that feels relevant to their lives.
Okay.
It's about showing them how the skills and knowledge they're acquiring can be applied to real-world situations,
Right.
which, as we've discussed, is a key element of Potency.World's approach.
This is all starting to make so much sense. It's like they've taken the best aspects of adult learning and thoughtfully adapted them to create a truly engaging and empowering experience for these young women.
I agree.
But I'm curious, how does this all translate into tangible outcomes?
Yep.
Can we see real-world examples of what this approach can achieve?
Absolutely.
Micro-
In fact, our research highlights a fascinating example,
Okay.
a potential solution called Cloud for Cancer.
Okay, before we dive into that,
Yeah.
remind me, are we going to get into the specifics of how Cloud for Cancer works?
No need to delve into the technical details.
Okay.
What's important here is that Cloud for Cancer serves as a powerful illustration of what's possible when you nurture intrinsic motivation and equip young minds with the tools to approach real-world problems.
Got it. So Cloud for Cancer is like a testament to the power of this approach.
Yes.
A real-world manifestation of what can happen when you ignite that spark of curiosity and give young people the freedom to explore their passions.
Exactly. And remember, this is just one example. Imagine if we scaled this up.
Okay, I'm starting to see where you're going with this. Imagine hundreds of thousands of girls empowered to think creatively and collaboratively,
Right.
to approach challenges with a growth mindset and a burning desire to make a difference.
The potential impact is truly mind-boggling.
Yeah.
We can see breakthroughs in technology, healthcare, the arts, you name it.
Wow.
And this brings us to a crucial question.
Okay.
What if this approach wasn't just limited to a select group of girls, but became the norm for all learners?
Yeah, it's a powerful thought. What if every young person had the opportunity to learn in an environment that nurtured their passions
It really is.
and equipped them with the skills to become innovators and change makers?
It really challenges us to reimagine what education could be.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where learning isn't seen as a chore
Right.
or a means to an end,
Yeah.
but as a joyful exploration of one's potential.
It's like we've been approaching education with a scarcity mindset. Yeah. Focusing on limitations and standardized tests instead of embracing like the abundance of possibilities that exist when we tap into a young person's intrinsic motivation.
And what's fascinating is this isn't just about changing the education system.
Right.
It's about shifting our collective mindset about learning and potential.
So where do we go from here? What can our listeners take away from this deep dive into Potency.World?
I think the biggest takeaway is the power of recognizing and nurturing intrinsic motivation,
Yeah.
not just in young people, but in ourselves as well.
Right.
Whether you're a parent, an educator, or simply someone who wants to live a more purposeful and fulfilling life,
Yeah.
it's worth asking yourself,
Okay.
what are those things that light me up?
Like-
What are those activities that make me lose track of time because I'm so fully engaged?
It's about rediscovering that childlike curiosity and allowing ourselves the space to explore,
Yeah,
to experiment, and to learn simply for the joy of learning.
exactly. And who knows, maybe by embracing our own passions,
Yeah.
we can help inspire the next generation to do the same.
It's like a ripple effect.
Yes.
Starting with a shift in our own perspectives and radiating outward to create a world where learning is seen as a lifelong adventure,
Totally.
a journey of constant growth and discovery.
And that's a journey worth taking.
Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Okay?
I really appreciate you taking the time to share your expertise with us.
This is a pleasure.
And as always, to our amazing listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.
Until next time, keep those minds curious and those passions burning.